welcome to the Next Step Podcast, where our mission is to lead people to take their next step in their journey with Christ by loving Jesus and becoming like Jesus and sharing Him with others. And today we have two important citizens in our community that are involved in planning something that we wanted to talk to you about called Faith in Blue, an interaction between our police force and our community of faith. And so I've got two special guests today. First, Chief Corky Falls here from the Belmont Police. We'll get to know more about him in the moments to come. And also Sam Warner, who's the pastor at First Presbyterian Church. He's just right over the way here. We could throw a rock and get it over there. Don't throw any rocks, though. It's a Presbyterian church, and the stained glass is expensive, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. So welcome, guys. We're glad you guys are here.
Thank you.
Glad to be
Thank
here.
you.
Good deal. So tell us, how did you get here? How did you get in this seat as Chief of Police? Where did it all start, and how did you end up here?
Started about 29 years ago.
Okay.
Actually, a little bit before that, when I was a firefighter, I decided I don't want to be a police officer because the police chief was the fire chief as well. It kind of let us ride with the officers, and so I then started getting interested in the law enforcement career. I wanted to do something because I've always served, in some capacity. So just here I am, 29 years later.
That's awesome. So tell us some of your service stations. You started in Cramerton?
I started in Cramerton as a reserve officer. Became a full-time police officer in 1996 in Belmont here. Left 2002 to go back to Cramerton. 2007, left there, went to Gastonia PD. I wanted to be on the SWAT team and
All right.
and all that stuff,
Yeah.
Just wanted to
Good.
some new adventures. And so I had an opportunity years later in 2017 to come back to Belmont. Felt like I came back home, and then I kept getting promoted, and now I'm the chief.
Fantastic. So tell us about your family.
I have 2 daughters, a son, lovely wife, and I have 2 grandbabies, both girls, but I also have both of my daughters are currently pregnant.
Oh,
And,
so you're growing.
Yes, so we're going to have 4 grandbabies by the end of the year, hopefully.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So what's your wife's name?
Tabitha.
Tabitha, thank you for sharing Corky with us. And your kids' names?
Dharma,
Dharma.
Skylar, and Cooper.
All right. And grandchildren?
Cooper goes to grandchildren. Oh, you put me on the spot, Pastor.
Okay. So you're about to say Cooper, something about Cooper. What were you gonna say?
Cooper goes to South Point High School. He's a junior at South Point High School.
Fantastic. What's up, Cooper? And then grandchildren?
2.
Okay.
Oakley. You got me, Pastor.
That's okay. It's going to come back to
A
you.
moment.
That's all right. No problem.
I'm going to get in trouble for that one. Sorry.
That's okay. No problem. We can edit that out anyway.
I feel your pain.
It's an unforgettable name. It just slipped right now. So, Sam, you've been in Belmont for how long? Is it the pastor at First Pres?
I've been here since January of 2005, so going on 20 years this January.
Fantastic. Where are you from originally?
I am from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I was raised a Methodist, and my mother was a Baptist at heart, and went to a good Methodist school because that's where my father went to school, to Duke. And it was at Duke that I met this Presbyterian girl while I was considering to be a Catholic priest.
Okay, really?
And
Really?
That did not work. You couldn't quite have a girlfriend to be a pastor in the Catholic Church. So I became Presbyterian by divine intervention, and that's what I've been ever since.
Fantastic.
So
I love that. So my friend Mick McMahon, who's a venture capitalist in town, says that he was a Baptist and his wife was a Lutheran, so he compromised and he became a Lutheran.
That's right. Well, we
compromised.
I'm a Metho-Baptirian with a touch of Moravian and a little bit of Catholics.
That's awesome. That means you've got soul, man.
I wouldn't. I'm Presbyterian. We are very sleepy, so we keep it very calm.
I know better than that. And First Pres is a beautiful church, and y'all do so many fascinating things, including services outside and blessing of animals and all kinds of stuff like that. That's really cool. And you have my grandson in your preschool. And I just want to say for Ms. Marsha and Ms. Janet,
They are excellent.
and Ms. Janet and Ms. Marsha, that they are sainted ladies, and I appreciate all they're pouring into his life, and not just that, but all your school in general.
Well, and you're talking about Marsha, who is she has a master's degree in Christian education. So one of our preschool teachers is also a graduate of Union Presbyterian Seminary and has a master's in theological education. So she's a pretty good girl.
Fantastic. And Janet, Miss Janet has a master's degree in emotional intelligence.
Absolutely. She knows how to deal with preschool kids.
She does.
Absolutely.
Every day I'm thankful, just for what you guys do in the lives of the people in the community.
Thank you.
So we began this thing called Faith in Blue 4 years ago?
3 years.
All right, it's right after COVID, wasn't it?
It was.
21 was our first year. And so we jumped in. Sam jumped in and became a great leader and benefactor as well too. So what inspired you to get us started in Faith in Blue?
You know, I got an email. I was assistant chief at the time. I got an email from the chief, and he said, you may want to just check this out and take a look at this email. It looks like it might be something to it. And, you know, at that time with policing, it wasn't a really good time. We were more of a target than we'd ever been. And right. So we were looking for some way to connect to the community. And when I looked up Faith in Blue, and I was a little hesitant. I looked at it, and I looked at what their mission statement said and where they're like a movement. And I was like, this is it. This is what we need. Which, in Belmont, we have a really good community. We're very supportive. But I was just looking as a way to find a way to connect with everybody, not just in Belmont, just around everywhere. We're trying to clear our name in an aspect, you know what I mean? Because police officers that have a couple bad apples spoils a bunch kind of thing. Sure. And so I looked at this and I started digging into it, and I immediately said, we're doing this. I want to see if this is really if there's good in it. And I tasked Alan Buchanan at the time with making it happen in a couple of weeks or maybe 3 weeks, and it usually takes about 6 months to plan. And we pulled it off, and then here we are 3 years later doing our third one.
It was really cool that first year gathering together and doing something that was really that kind of compressed in a quick period of time, right? And I'm just so thankful for then Sergeant Buchanan, right? And now he's a Lieutenant Buchanan.
Yeah.
Is that right? And we have Sergeant Green with us too. Yeah. Sergeant Green is behind the scenes tonight, but Sergeant Green is now taking the lead on Faith in Blue, and we're grateful for his interaction with us too.
Amen to that.
Absolutely. So even though we can't see you, say hello, Sergeant
right.
Green.
Couldn't talk him into getting on the couch.
We tried to, but he's having a little.
He's our bodyguard. He's making sure nobody comes in to take us out or anything like that. So that's a powerful thing. So when you found out about it, what was it that inspired you to want to get involved?
Well, part of it is, as Corky says, Alan Buchanan is a member of our church.
Right.
And so that was a second, not only the importance of the relationship between the faith community, because if you remember back then, there were also events happening in churches. Mm-hmm. And really for the last 5-10 years, and at our church in particular, there was a concern because this is a community that has so many new folks and you don't know who they are and things that happened in churches. And so we made the rather bold decision to start having an off-duty police officer at every service, which was 2 a.m. on Sunday, and then also on Wednesday when we were heavily populated, at those 2 times. And so just prior to Faith in Blue, we had built a relationship. That's how I met T.J. Green and others. And we got to where many of the police officers, we got to know them. And that was, we support them, and they're great men and women. Right. And it just seemed a natural thing to continue to show that gratitude beyond just seeing them on a Sunday and on a Wednesday.
Right.
And that we could encourage the community to be a part of it.
So we know policemen are people too and that kind of stuff, and we know that they're bad apples, but this was a tremendous time for us to be able to come together, and we did some important things across church-wise. Racially, we sought to integrate this to make sure that we were equally sharing in it, and at that time there's a gentleman that was at Cramerton Memorial Church, and he helped us as well too. We came together with a prayer and around social justice and stuff like that too, and we care about that. It's easy for people to judge something on the evening news that happens for you guys in 6 or 7 seconds, right?
Absolutely.
That's what makes it hard. And so how has this helped in the last 2 or 3 years to engender a better relationship between the police department and the community?
The first year went really well. We had a lot of people who came out and supported us. We did the Unity March, which we still do. It's a big hit from the police department to Stowe Park. And just the change that I've seen is we've always been supported, but we see the love even more now. And we've noticed even on some of the things that we post on social media, in the beginning, say 4 or 5 years ago, we may not have a positive response. So even on social media, people are defending us because I think at this point, we've shown that we care and we're wanting to get out in the community. We're trying to make the right decision for the right reason at the right time, but we do have to make split-second decisions. And Monday night quarterbacking is cool and all, but if you're in that officer's situation, it may be different and, a different outlook if you put yourself in that officer's place. And so not only with just Faith in Blue, but just with our Citizens Police Academy, we encourage people to come out and let us change your mind about, that Monday night quarterback, and what you see on the news and what you see in our community are not the same thing.
Right.
We hire quality people. We hire superstars. I call it the all-star team, like baseball. And we're not going to quit hiring quality people.
Right, because Belmont's an all-star city.
Yeah,
right?
I kind of think of Belmont as a bubble. I've always said that. We don't like to let people in our bubble that don't mix well, so to speak. And so we're going to continue to hire good people and then provide them with good training and knowledge and leadership and customer service training and all kinds of different things that we provide. We do core training. We do a lot of stuff internally to make sure we're providing a good product for the for the customer, because people that we have to deal with are customers, whether good, bad, or indifferent. We still have to deal with them, treat them all equally. And so it's kind of like, let's come in, give us a chance to change your mind on the aspect of what you see versus what we really are about. And I think with that, and with Faith in Blue and being able to connect with the community through the faith-based organizations, we've really proved ourselves at what we're capable of and what we're really about. Like the goodness. I actually had an officer in my office, and he was sitting across from me, and I asked him, I said, "Where'd you get your goodness from?" And that's what I try to hire in all the people that we bring in. You may not make the cut if you don't have the goodness, So
awesome.
That's what we try to do.
You've got quite a diverse staff, too, and you hire for diversity, and you're seeking to make sure there's equity and inclusion and those kind of things, which have become buzzwords, and they've tended to become politicized too much on one side versus the left. But the fact that you've intentionally hired a diverse group of people that come from various race, ethnicities, male and female, that kind of stuff as well, that's helpful, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've really noticed that a lot. And I've also been a part of seeing some hard tragic things happen to some of your officers and losing family members and those kinds of things. And it's been amazing to see how the police force, not only of Belmont, but how the whole law enforcement community comes around to comfort police officers when they've lost somebody that's special to them too,
Definitely.
their family. So you've created a great culture there.
And we appreciate, and from my perspective, we appreciate what you guys do. In a time like that, you stepped up and came in, a split second and helped with that, and I appreciate that. That was
a
tragic
welcome.
Situation.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam's done it a number of times as well over the span of being a pastor here. So since you've been here 20 years almost, and you've been in previous communities, you grew up in Winston-Salem, how would you characterize the faith community and the connection with the police force and that kind of stuff?
I think part of it, again, the biggest reason, and I want to say this is not about my church per se, as it is, we're just one of many churches that partner in this Faith in Blue relationship. You, Ray, through the Point and y'all's relationship, we have, we're sitting here for this podcast in First Baptist Church, which on, in a couple of days, they're going to host a breakfast on Friday morning, as a part of this ministry. We have a number of Methodist churches. They all fit in as they can, and to support it, as well as the Catholic Church. And so it's been a relationship that I've always had a ministerial relationship with other pastors, but this has become even more intentional because we're all in this together. We're all Methobaptirian and everything else in between. Yeah. We're about God and a relationship with God and support, because the people who are on the front line of all of the issues we're dealing with are the police officers.
Right.
And they're the ones that are the first ones called. And they have to respond immediately. They don't get time to study it.
Right.
They have to move immediately, and we really appreciate, and we want them to know they're supported.
Same here. I think the other thing that I've noticed over the years in gaining experience in ministry is that we have a lot of similarities between us as ministers and those people that are police officers, because we can see people at their very best, and sometimes we see them at their very worst. Yeah. And therefore, it helps us to have empathy for one another's professions and the kind of things we're trying to get accomplished.
Right.
Do me a favor, walk us through kind of what the schedule is going to be like for Faith in Blue. So you mentioned already, we are, by the way, thanks for that shout out, we are here in some space that First Baptist Church in Belmont has allowed us to use as a studio for the Next Step podcast. So thank you, First Baptist. Thank you also for kicking off Faith and Blue Weekend with this breakfast. It's going to be down here in this beautiful fellowship hall in this great, beautiful, historic church where two churches meet every Sunday and those kind of things. Well, so take us from there. So Friday morning, we're going to begin with breakfast next week.
It's right? Well, this coming
Friday.
And then the next really big event, as I understand it, is going to be Saturday, which is going to be at the Reed Park, as in part of Reed High School, and there's going to be, a part of recognizing that history as a part of Belmont, thanks to TJ's work. There's going to be a working there from 8 to 10 at Reed Park, and then from 10 to 12, I think is as much fellowship time with folks that are able to be there.
Right.
Then on Saturday afternoon at the Pumpkin Patch at Park Street United Methodist, there'll be first responders, there'll be fire department, police officers. I think there's even going to be a helicopter possibly come flying. It's not going to happen. Well, we'll pray for the. Who knows?
The Holy Spirit will descend.
Let's just hope there's not an emergency that requires it to be there.
Right.
But that'll be there, on Saturday afternoon. And it's a very visible place. That's where Park Street wanted, to be, to partner with their already existing pumpkin patch and those efforts. I think the next will be various people in different churches on Sunday. At our church, we'll be having the current Gaston County District Attorney, Travis Page, is preaching at both services. And he's very much supportive of this relationship. And then that afternoon is going to be the Unity March from 4 to 4:30. And then from 4:30 to 8 o'clock is something that TJ has come up with, a Faith Fest down in Stowe Park, so that folks can go around and just see the faith community with the police officers, some bands, some folks speaking. And then all of this kind of culminates on Monday night with a closing ceremony at Queen of the Apostles Catholic Church from 6 to 8 o'clock that we'll have there. And I hope I covered it,
So, and you've been a real driver for helping us to get together as ministers in the community on a regular basis. And COVID put a stop to that for a couple of years because people did not want to meet. It wasn't just a little while, it was a while.
Right.
And you gathered us back together. Just been such a catalyst in pulling this together along with Chief Falls and what we're trying to get accomplished here, and Sergeant Green and others that have helped make it successful. So you guys can jump into any one of those things. Friday morning breakfast at here at First Baptist Church. We'll be publishing this on that Friday morning. So if we do it early enough, maybe you'll watch it early enough to get in.
And I want to say, recognizing a lot of that, he's the coordinator, is Mike Curtin is the one who's going to pull that off. And he's just a volunteer in this church that's doing that to make that. And they really know how to put together. I think they're hoping 100 people would be here. And they'll be ready.
The food is free.
And it's a partnering to where the police officers are here and also members of the community. And,
Absolutely.
You can't beat the breakfast, right?
No, you can't.
I'm telling you, the breakfast is really good. The ladies in there cooking, they're always really nice. We always thank them, but the breakfast is superb.
It's amazing. So free breakfast on Friday to start off Faith and Blue Weekend. The police officers and the churches are going to feed you, all right?
That's right.
And then Saturday, the great things at the Pumpkin Patch, and then the Unity March in the afternoon, and then
Reed Park. Go into that because
that's 8 to 10 in the morning.
8 to 10, and that's where Reed Park High School was located, or Reed High School, and it's affirming the kind of the diversity of this community, particularly as Belmont is and this is one thing that makes the police department so central. And this is not a criticism of any other community, but Belmont's the fastest growing city in Gaston County. I mean, it is growing almost uncontrollably. I mean, you have so many developments, and the pressure when you bring all these folks together falls to the police. When there are emergencies that are unintended, but how do you respond? And so they're really on the front line of a good thing. But it's challenging because there's new people here, and we're trying to be inclusive of them too.
Right. So there's not just people that have always lived in Belmont all their lives.
Not anymore.
Although we love them, we're grateful for them. They're the core of the community, and they're South Point and they're Red Raiders and all that kind of stuff, right? That's kind of part of the culture here. but also you've got a whole new group of people that are moving from various different parts of the country. And they figured out that it's a whole lot quicker to get to the Charlotte airport from Belmont than it is from South Charlotte.
Absolutely.
So people moved over here, right?
When you're where you're located, you can get to the airport and you can get to downtown Charlotte faster from Belmont than you can from Charlotte in Charlotte.
Right, or Davidson.
And I have no difficulty going in and out to the hospitals there.
Right.
Much easier, and even we're always going against the traffic flow.
Right.
But I will also say, as in terms of Belmont police officers, again, we're right next door. I know you experience it too at the Point, Ray. On a Sunday morning, it is rare if I do not hear every day, and even on Sunday, a police car and a fire truck going by our church, because they're going right to, because we're also on I-85.
Right.
And tied in with it, Belmont also has the completion of a new Caramont hospital.
Right.
And that right there, wherever you have an emergency room and you have medical care like that, you also have other issues unintentional that come along with it.
Right.
And that's only going to increase the need for safety and good law enforcement officers.
And we have a great interaction between that. So I'm grateful. I have a son who always wanted to be a firefighter, and now he's the deputy fire chief and works with you guys when you have things and incidents that require your help and structure and that kind of stuff too. And he loves it, and he loves being in Belmont, and has said, I don't want to go anywhere but Belmont. A lot of these guys are trying to climb the ladder of success and go somewhere else, but he's grateful to work with you guys. So grateful for that.
And I don't mean to go ahead, Corky.
I mean, like the firefighters and the police and all the people in the community that were vested in the community, they believe in the community, and like you said, even with him, they don't want to go anywhere else. They know this is like the diamond in the rough. I said it earlier to somebody in a kidding way about something else, but Belmont's like the diamond in the rough, and when you get here and you realize what it's all about, and with all the events that happen, all the things that we have when you come from a big, bustling city from somewhere else. I mean, I don't know what that's like or where they come from, but we're like the diamond in the rough. Our job really is to try to treat the community the best way that we can and build their trust so that they'll call the police when there's an issue. An example of that is there's a gentleman who actually works for the city who had a drug dealer living behind him locally, and we had no idea about it. No one called about it, and he was fed up. He had been dealing with it for some time, and he called us and let us know about it. And I said, that's what I want you to do. Get all your neighbors on the street to let us know what's going on.
Right.
Let's keep us informed. And within a couple of months, we locked this guy up for any large sums of cash and drugs and stuff. And so we want to build that trust in the community to where people will actually call when they have an issue, and they know that we're going to respond in a positive way and have a positive dealing with the police to where they're going to continue to call, because if we don't know about situations, I mean, we can't complain. We can't fix the issues. And so it was a case where he was just fed up, and he was like, I'm going to call. And he called me personally, and I was like, we got right on top of it, and it worked out really good. And that's just one example of many that, we got to build that trust with the community so they'll trust us. And so they know, like, when they call the police, they're not going to get mistreated. Just last night at city council meeting, I received an award from the North Carolina League of Municipalities, who's like our insurance carrier, for passing a risk assessment. They do a risk assessment once every 3 years, and this is the second time we received the award. Wow. Which means we uphold best practices nationwide, statewide. We're a part of CALEA, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, and that's nationwide, and they actually used us as a model agency across the whole world for how to go through the process to be certified. Right. And so actually next month in November, I'm going to Florida to sit before a review panel to be interviewed there to receive our reaccreditation or not based on the answers that I give, so to speak. So I'm going to get drilled to make sure that what we say we do is what we do. And we had somebody come on site for both of those, for the risk assessment through the league and for CALEA. And once a year they go through our files, our policies, and all that stuff to ensure we're doing what we say we're doing, and we're utilizing best practices, and what our policies say we're following, like complaints, and they look through how we handle our complaints, police chases, all of that stuff is all in there. So there's been a lot of talk about transparency, and we're as transparent as we can be and legally the way we can be. We're just trying to provide the best product and treat people the best way we can, but we want to just continue to build off of what we've built on with a great agency and take it even to be the best agency in the country or in the world, wherever we can. And so, like the proof's in the pudding, kind of, so to speak.
Right.
We want to be the best, and we want to continue that.
If you're being recognized by outward agencies, they're seeing what's happening here, and you're going through a diligent process to make sure that happens.
The CALEA process, we actually pay an outside entity to come in and review us and test us and make sure we're doing what best practices are nationwide, like what our policies are, the standards across the country. These are the standards for police, how they should do the job.
Wow.
And we volunteered when we went into it. We didn't volunteer for the care package. We went for the gold. I mean, it's like if you want to go big or go home, kind of, so to speak. So we do the gold standards, which we could have just said, okay, we're going to do these 200 standards. We do almost 400 standards where they come in, and we actually pay them to say, we pay them to come in and to be involved with it to where they know, and everybody, we just proved the proof's in the pudding. We prove that we do what we say we're about, and we, the standards across the country. So sometimes it's kind of hard to take when people are saying certain things about the way things should be. Yeah. Everybody has their opinion about it. When I know that we nationally accredited risk assessment, we passed with flying colors. Really impressed the guy who came. He's like, I feel like I'm kind of on vacation when I come to your agency versus some of the agencies that I've been to in other places. And he says it's a really good feeling to come here and know that y'all are really doing such a great job.
So you've got lots of philosophy and things that you adhere to and standards. Like, what's a practical matter you could share with people about, because we adhere to this standard, we did this in this kind of incident, as opposed to what might have been done in the past?
We do a lot of leadership training, but just in standards, like if there's like a police chase, a better example would probably be if someone makes a complaint. If you call in about a complaint, we go through the process of doing the full investigation on any and all complaints. We don't just say, okay,
I rode by the house and I didn't see anything going on.
Something happens and you don't think the officer did what he was supposed to do, or maybe you were mistreated, or you just call in and say, I want to have this looked at. We go through the entire process, the full investigation for any complaint, so that we can find it as, it's sustained or it's unfounded. Did it happen? Is it true? Is there any merit to it, or is there not? We do a full investigation, and then we mail someone back something saying, what the outcome is.
Right.
When it comes to personnel matters, we can't talk really too much about that.
Right.
But we can say that it's handled, and we know that no matter whether we know it's irrelevant, like it didn't happen. We go through the entire process. That way there's transparency. That everything's looked in, and the people know that we're not sweeping things under the rug. And, we can say for sure we have a system called IA Pro, Blue Team, where we log all that stuff, and then we get statistics from that. We can pull that up, and that's one of the standards for CALEA, as we're required to have that system that says, this is how you handle complaints. Right. And so that's just an example of one of the things we do for that.
So you actually pay people to come and say, how do we handle incident A and incident B and incident C? And look at our records and document the way we did things like that to make sure that we've done it in the right kind of way.
Absolutely. And
That's
they look through our files. Every year they look through 20% of our files, and then on the fourth year they come and critique the entire agency, everything that has to do with the standard. I say there's 400 standards, but there's like subsections of that, so it's a lot more.
Right.
Wow. And we do it in a way that's different than some agencies.
There's only 10 commandments. They got 400.
Yeah. Right. So we have buy-in from everybody on the agency. Everyone's assigned CALEA proofs that they have to do, and that might be an incident that had a domestic violence involving it, and we have to prove this is how we handled it. And so we have every officer involved in the process, so there's buy-in across the board. Right. And everyone understands the importance of it and the relevance of it. So
right. It's powerful. Powerful. And we've noticed as well, too, I think the bellwether or the turnkey or the tipping point that you speak of, now people are not talking about you negatively on social media. Or there might still be some, but there tend to be few and far between. Instead, people are saying the police were there, they did their job, and all those kind of things, and we feel safer because we're here. And to me, that's the very best possible thing that can happen. When word of mouth is saying you're doing a good job, that's powerful. And we definitely do have that reputation in the community.
We get defended a lot more on social media, is what I'll say, than we did, say, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, by all means, by no means aren't going to sit in the green chair and tell you that we do everything right, you know.
Right.
But if we do something wrong, we'll make it right.
Right.
If we need to send an officer to be retrained or something, you know, we say mistake of the mind or mistake of the heart.
Right.
And if it's a mistake of the mind, we may be able to correct it. But if it's a mistake of the heart and it's just you're just a bad person, we're not going to be able to correct that.
Right.
You understand? So, but I don't know, we look into everything.
What's a great part that we get to play to be in the community to help engender close relationships between us as faith leaders and those people that are law enforcement leaders, because it's a privilege, and we're all part of the same structure. Back at the beginning of last month, I reminded our congregation that according to the book of Romans and chapter 13, 14, there's important things that says that government officers are God's ministers to us, and they don't carry the rod in vain, right? So we know you don't want to carry the rod because you have to use it, but the fact that there is an authority there is necessary in order for us to have peace, and in order for us to have love and part of our community. And what we do is we spread that. It's really powerful. But go ahead.
I was going to throw in one other piece that I didn't want us to go through and not mention. I'm not sure exactly how it relates, but it's the Belmont Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association, which also is a part of the Faith in Blue and interaction that, you know, I've never been in a community that had anything quite like that. And so that is another piece, not only the faith community, but the folks that are active with that institution and organization and training is part of the citizenship of Belmont.
And specifically as it relates to this weekend, that's what's going to be happening after the Unity March between 4:30 and 8 o'clock on Sunday evening this week.
Right.
Fantastic. Awesome.
We definitely couldn't do what we do in the community without the Citizens Police Academy
Tell us more about it, because a lot of people might. Is that like guys that get plastic badges or whatever? Well, tell us what that was.
We put on Citizens Police Academies. We try to do it twice a year, and the people, and the reason for that is to connect with the community and see what we're really about. You know, we say something, and we want to back it up. Come see what we're about. We invite you in. Come by the police department anytime. We'll give you a tour. We'll explain what we do. But if you come to the Citizens Police Academy, and we try to do it in the evenings, like after work and stuff, so some people who work jobs and stuff through the week, they can come. And, you know, maybe one day a week or something like that. And so people who are made up of that association alumni, the Citizens Police Academy, are graduates of the Citizens Police Academy. They came through it. And once they're graduated, you know, we take them out to driving track. We do certain things. They learn about every internal aspect of the police department and what we do, and the reasons why we make those split-second decisions. And it's a really positive thing because it changes people's outlook completely on the police in general, not just us, but the police. And so once you graduate from that, if you have the opportunity, if you want to volunteer, be involved in a lot of the events. I mean, the city has a lot of events. We host a lot of events to connect with the community, so you have an opportunity to be involved in that. Shop with a Cop, Rooftop Cop for Kids. There's several. There's probably over 50 events that happen throughout the year that we're involved in if we're not having them. So they have the opportunity to do that. You know, it's a nonprofit organization that we funnel in any donations that come through the police department. If someone wants to donate stuff, that's all goes through the Citizens Police Academy. They help us sell things, and then they they have a board and everything, and they actually they're very supportive of us, and some of the stuff that they vote on, whether to give us different equipment and things like that may not have been budgeted, or maybe they found a need for it, and then they'll vote on whether to give it to us or not. They're very supportive, great group of people, and I don't want to not mention Tony Hodge.
I was just going
Tony Hodge, one of the members. He had cancer, and he just recently passed away. It was a great loss. He was big in the Citizens Police Academy when he came through, and he stuck with us. And he's going to be very much missed, and I hate it for his family.
I can't thank you enough for mentioning, because that was one thing that came out. He died yesterday, and also Tony was intimately connected to the homeless population in which also the first responders in Belmont are the police force, because we do have, with all of our blessing, I often refer to Belmont as Mayberry RFD for those who are old like I am, who can remember Andy Griffith and Mayberry and all this stuff. you have little, moms pushing baby carts and all this stuff. But also with this growth, you also have the other side of being on the outskirts of Mecklenburg County and being right here in the middle. And we have a growing homeless population.
Right.
And the police are the first ones who end up knowing how to care for those folks.
Right.
They know who is and who isn't, more so than anybody else.
Right.
And that's a very frontline responsibility. And
Yeah,
Tony
others
was
we
very
spoke to.
much a part of that.
Well, Lord, thank you for Tony's life. Just want to say a quick prayer, and we pray your blessing on his family, and thank you for those that come behind him, that they find him faithful in what he's passed on to them, and that we would live out what he did. And pray that you comfort his family in this loss. Amen. So, Chief, anything else you want to leave us with as we leave this Faith in Blue community conversation that we have? And
Well, when we first started Faith in Blue, I started looking into it. Something I think is relative is there's over 65 million people. I don't know if people know this, but there's over 65 million people who go to church every week, whether it's Sunday, Wednesday, or whatever. And I had no idea. And so when it talked about being involved with the clergy and pastors and being able to connect to the community, it made perfect sense because you guys are on the forefront and y'all lead the congregation at your churches and stuff. So what I'll say is it's been really great to work with you guys, but I've also seen you guys come closer together as well with not just the community, with each other, and that's really good to see and experience. And I had no idea there's that many people went to church, but I'm glad they do.
absolutely.
For sure. And but it's been a great catalyst, and I'm glad we're in our third year, and I hope that it's contagious across the county. I know there's other agencies that are involved in Faith in Blue. I hope it's contagious, and I hope everyone hears the podcast and gives us a chance to say, hey, the police are good. We're trying to do the right thing for the right reason. Come see us. Come by. Bring your kids by. We have some things we'll give to them. We'll give them a tour. We'll let them sit in a police car. Be involved. Come be a part of our events. And let us change your minds if you think of the police in a negative aspect. I think, like I said, the proof's in the pudding. And we're humble enough to say when we're wrong. We don't sweep things under the rug. I've worked at places like that, and I'm not going to be a chief and not going to stand for it. And so, but I want to thank y'all for what y'all have done so far. And I know it's and there's a lot of other pastors involved. But thank y'all for y'all's time and the effort that y'all put into this. It's huge, and I think all of us are making a great impact in the community. Not just here, because I know people from Charlotte and other places have come to our Faith in Blue stuff because I've talked to them. I like to walk up to strangers and talk to them, and so I know we're making a great impact, and I hope it's contagious, and I hope it keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. And we're all in it for the right reason, do the right thing, and I think that's the message I'd like to send out. But seriously, tell people to come, see what we're about, come be a part of our Citizens Police Academy, come out to some of our events, and if you don't know a police officer, walk up and talk to them, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And
people too.
and see how they treat you.
Absolutely.
If they don't treat you right, tell them to call me.
Well,
Very good.
what's that phrase? It takes a village
Yep.
to raise a child, and it's certainly we're all a part, and the police force is an intimate part of that village.
Fantastic. So this will be published on Friday morning when Faith in Blue starts that weekend.
Right.
Is there a place that people can go to online to find the order of events? Is the Belmont Police Department's website?
Yes, sir.
Or on Facebook?
Yeah, on Facebook, on some of the social media platforms. You can go to the City of Belmont's Facebook page. You can go to the police department's Facebook page, and there's actually a flyer on there, and it tells you when every event is. So I mean, it's all weekend, and the closing ceremony is on Monday. So I don't think we have a lot of citizens. So I don't think everybody has an excuse.
That's right.
Because there's so many different times and events. So somebody's got to come out to one of them.
We're going to get this information out there.
The most important thing is sometime through this week, show up.
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything. You don't have to do it. Just your presence communicates a volume of words.
Absolutely.
What is it saying? Francis of Assisi says, preach every moment of every day, and only when you have to, use words.
Yeah.
Show up, and that'll be enough.
Make your actions happen.
And, and I'd also like to thank the community for their continued support because, like I said last night when we received that award, we can't do it without a community.
Right.
The community's trust and give us a chance to allow us to prove to you that we're trustable and we want to do the right thing for the right reason. So look us up.
Yes, sir.
Come see us.
Well, thank you so much, Chief Falls, and thank you, Pastor
Ray.
Warner. My
Thank
good
you,
friend.
Ray. Thank you, Point Church. Thank you for all y'all mean to our community as well and making this possible.
It is our pleasure. It's our goal to help everybody to walk closely with God and one another, and that's our goal, and we're grateful for all the contributions that we make to make that possible. All right, so Faith and Blue Weekend is happening this weekend when you see this published. If you're seeing it afterwards, then we're going to do it again next year as well, too. But it's always great to jump in to what the police department is doing in our community and understanding that our churches and our leadership in churches and in the police department and other greater governmental infrastructure are making a difference in the world today. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for being with us, and we'll see you next time for episode number 46 on the next podcast as we take our next steps with Jesus together.